I'm going to speak some hard truths to my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It is the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively to voters. We are not the party of common sense, which is what the message that voters sent to us for a number of reasons. For a number of reasons, we don't know how to speak to voters. When we address Latino and language, listen, language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do, it makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do. When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus at Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university, and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right?
I don't know if it was winnable. There are two numbers. One is 39, the other is 75. 39 is the approval rate for Joe Biden. That's very low.
Yep.
And 75 is the wrong track measure. That's very high. So she had a tough hill to climb. I think that she did as well as you could possibly do, but she had a bunch of people running that campaign who did not listen, who were very arrogant, who sucked up $1 billion, who pissed off a lot of people, and you're going to be hearing about it for a long time.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, it seems that Van Jones of CNN fame is done blowing snot. He's done crying tears, but yet and still he seems caught up in the whirlwind of self-reflection. And we understand that a lot of self-reflection is necessary at a time like this after a trouncing by Donald Trump in the presidential campaign. But it seems like these Democrats want to blame everybody in every direction, here, there, and everywhere, except looking, as Michael Jackson would say, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. Well, they don't want to look in that mirror because they don't like that reflection. They don't like what they see. They want to blame everyone else. They don't want to take responsibility for this campaign that was of their own doing, in fact. It was the Democrats who got rid of Joe Biden. It was the Democrats who put forth Kamala Harris. It was the Democrats who avoided a primary and made a selection instead of an election. Well, now they are faced with the repercussions of their actions and they are forced to deal with it. And it doesn't look like they're doing such a great job, y'all.
Van, so Nancy Pelosi using the word heartbreaking in her conversation with Lulu. Carville talking about a dark tunnel. Blame is starting.
Yep.
And there needs to be discussion among Democrats. So,
well, look, we spent $1 billion and elected Donald Trump. That's not a blame game. That's called accountability. And the people at the top of the campaign, the top of the party, have a lot of people pissed off at him because there were people who had suggestions. There were people who were saying, why are we doing this? Why this? It was like, hey, we've got it. We've got it. We've got it. We've got this special magical computer formulation. We've tested every ad. Shut up and sit down and go back to work. And so people said, okay, well, I guess you're right. And then we got clobbered, clocked, knocked down, beat up, drugged down. And so people are mad, and they should be mad. And the people at the top are going to have to listen. There is a grassroots rebellion happening in this party, and it's coming to knock on the door of the people who are in charge of the party. That's not blame game. That's accountability.
Accountability. I mean, and I know you're for $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And I believe they technically, blew a few $100 million of that in the recent weeks, Andrew Yang, and now ended up technically maybe in debt a little bit. They did door knocking, they did traditional ads, but you heard what Van's saying. They weren't listening to other ideas that people maybe like Van had.
Y'all, $1 billion is a lot of money. A lot of money. And the Democrats are stewing over the fact that they burnt through a quick billion and still owe money. How did they end up in the red with $1 billion bankroll? Well, they wouldn't be the first. Y'all remember Michael Bloomberg of New York City fame went out there and ran for president, burned up $1 billion and didn't even get through the primary? It can happen, y'all, when you go against American interest, when you go against the American people. And you think because you got all that bank, because you got all that cash, you think you know better. Well, clearly, riches don't make for good decisions. when it comes to Democrats. They blew through all that money, and now they're faced with the repercussions of their actions. And here you got Van Jones and Andrew Yang trying to figure it out, throwing ideas back and forth, trying to contemplate what they did wrong and what they can do better in the future. Well, what you can do better in the future is listen to the American people. It's just common sense, y'all. Donald Trump swept all of the swing states, having Arizona just announced this weekend. And here we are, 1 week past Election Day, and the Democrats are still reeling.
Is there any sense from people you're talking to of what role they think it played? That there was a perception, certainly among some voters, that at least Kamala Harris had not been honest with voters about Joe Biden's true state. I mean, this kept coming up again and again. Now people are trying to figure out, well, what happened? Is that something you hear?
I mean, I think that one of the things that happened during this election is that when that disastrous debate with Joe Biden happened, I think there was a break in trust with the Democratic Party and the electorate. There was a feeling that there wasn't actually honesty about the condition of the president, and that people had been perhaps shielding him from the voters. I mean, if you think about the fact that he really hadn't been sitting down for interviews, he hadn't been giving extended press conferences. And so I think that there is a real, there are still questions about what exactly happened there and who knew what and when they knew it.
Right. I mean, that is the real question. I mean, Van, I'd done an interview with him a few weeks before that. I didn't know, he was fine in that capacity, but you would imagine someone around him all the time, as many were, would have had a much different, perhaps, view. But, it all came down to many, many things, right? But when you look at the actual votes, it wasn't as if Trump suddenly surged in so many things. Yeah. It's that Democrats did worse. Monmouth went through just the blue states. Trump got an extra 280,000 votes this time versus last time. So he improved. Yep, but that is not the story. Look at this full screen. Yeah, Harris lost 3,339,404 votes. Yes. That's what stands out there.
Well, Bakari Seller said over and over again, it's either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or the couch. And Bakari was always worried about the couch. People just not feeling inspired enough to go out and vote. He wasn't worried that people were going to not vote for Kamala and go vote for Trump. He was afraid they weren't going to vote at all. And here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and the conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them and knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit. It's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
In fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk, but their PACs don't know what they're doing. We were
making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got outflanked, outplayed, outbeat by people who told us the whole time that they knew what they were doing. And people are mad. And Future Forward, all these different groups that vacuumed up all this money and told everybody to sit down and shut up are going to be in for an accountability session from the grassroots, and it is coming.
In this moment, y'all, I kind of feel sorry for these Democrats as they sit here defeated, as they're down in the doldrums trying to figure it out. It's going to take them a while. I don't expect them to figure it out in a week. I don't expect them to figure it out in a year, but you got 4 years to listen to the American people, to experience the greatness that is going to be the Trump administration. And, it might hit some of y'all hard. As we enjoy it as proud Americans, some of y'all might not enjoy it so much. Maybe you're not proud Americans. Maybe you need to get on the Trump train. Because during this 4 years, it's going to be set up in such a way. It's going to be so triumphant, so successful. Donald Trump calls it the golden age of America. Y'all, it's going to be so great again. Now, we ain't taking nothing for granted. Trust me. But we believe that things are going to work themselves out for the good of America, based on policy and not personality. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think about this, because Van Jones and CNN are going stir crazy, y'all. Seems like they can't figure it out. It's only been a few days. We're going to give them a while and let them stew in it. But right now, they're still reeling. Yo, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.